A man was sleeping soundly in bed when a loud crash jolted him awake. Water was pouring into the room. Panicked, he jumped up and looked for the source of the leak, only to find the floor of the cabin perfectly intact. It was the wall that had been breached. A huge hole had torn through the side, and seawater was flooding in fast. Terrified, the man scrambled to climb out of the cabin, but halfway up, he froze in shock. Out on the empty sea, a massive shipping container, over 20 meters long, was wedged tightly against his boat, dragging along with it as it moved. He was stunned. Where did such a huge container come from in the middle of the ocean? And how had it crashed into his boat? There was no time to think. He quickly lowered the sail to slow the yacht and reduce the rocking, hoping to keep more water from pouring in. Once the sail was down, he rushed back to the cockpit, pulled a telescoping metal rod from the emergency kit, and headed to the side of the boat. Wielding it with all his strength, he tried to pry the container loose from the yacht, but he had underestimated the container's weight. The rod bent and warped under pressure, but the container didn't budge. Water kept surging in. If he didn't figure something out soon, both he and the yacht would sink into the ocean with no trace. Just as despair started creeping in, he spotted a small hole on the side of the container, and an idea sparked. He rushed to the storage room and dragged out a heavy sandbag. Climbing up onto the container, he threaded the sandbag's rope through the hole and tied it securely to the container. Without hesitation, he hurled the sandbag into the sea. The weight pulled the container down and held it in place, finally freeing the yacht from its grip. But there was no time to celebrate. He ran back to the cockpit with a serious look, turned the yacht around, and raised the sail again. Using the wind, he steered the boat so the hole in the hull was lifted above the waterline, stopping more seawater from coming in. As the container drifted farther and farther away and the water stopped flooding in, the man finally let out a breath of relief. Now all he had to do was patch the hole, and he could continue his journey. The thought brought a faint smile to the officer's face. While there was still daylight, the man mixed together some materials and began preparing a heavy-duty version of industrial glue. Kneeling beside the bed, he carefully applied it to the damaged wall, trying to seal the breach. But what he thought would be a quick job stretched into hours, from morning until dusk, and he realized the damage was far worse than expected. By now, his legs were trembling from exhaustion. If he didn't refuel soon, his body wouldn't hold up. So he grabbed a can of food and dug in hungrily. After eating, too tired to deal with the remaining water in the boat, he collapsed into his sleeping bag for a much-needed rest, planning to continue repairs the next day. At dawn, he returned to the side of the boat to resume his work. Using the homemade glue, he sealed the remaining parts of the breach, then filled in the cracks with backup materials. Finally, the hole was completely patched, but he wasn't done yet. Back inside, he cleaned the entire cabin from top to bottom. Once the glue on the wall had fully set, the rescue effort was officially complete. Only then did the man truly relax, leaning back with a novel in hand, enjoying a moment of peace. When mealtime rolled around, he felt inspired to reward himself. He headed to the kitchen and started prepping to cook a meal. But just as he was about to start, he noticed something alarming. Rainwater was leaking through the supposedly sealed deck. Alarm bells went off in his head. He rushed upstairs to check, and what he saw left him absolutely stunned.